Hello everybody, it's Kurt again with bestbluetoothearbuds.net, and Aelec sent me a Bluetooth headset to review for you guys. So it comes in this kind of cool little box, and let's try to take this apart here. So you get these little boxes, and inside one you get your charging cable, the instructions, which I really didn't need to read. You get a lot of little ear tips and these little ear stabilizers for the headset. And then in the other box you get the Bluetooth headset. So this is going to be a little bit longer because I want to go over the different styles of Bluetooth headsets and some of the main advantages and disadvantages of each style. So this style I'm just going to call the earbud style. They fit in your ears like earbuds, and there's a cord that attaches them, and that's it. And so some of the biggest advantage of this style is that it's small and it's kind of discreet. They don't look a whole lot different than normal earbuds, so they don't stand out. And if you're not trying to make a fashion statement, these are great. Some of the key disadvantages of a style like this is that because they're so small, it's hard to solve the button problem. And I've honestly never used a set of Bluetooth earbuds with this style where I really liked the buttons. You don't have a lot of real estate to put buttons on them. You can do sort of like this button module, but it swings in the cord and it's a little bit hard to find. So that's one main disadvantage of that style. Another disadvantage would be a battery. Again, you don't have as much real estate, so typically the batteries don't last as long. An exception here is Aelec claims 10 hours. I actually haven't used them that long. I've used them maybe 3 or 4 hours, but I haven't had to charge them, and they still show as full on my phone. So that's a plus here. The battery's quite a bit longer, but typically battery life is not as long with this style. And then lastly, comfort. Because they're just earbuds, they got to stay in your ears. They typically use something like this, these little rubber things, and these work pretty good. And what you do is you tuck the rubber under your earlobe there, and they stay in well. But and they're comfortable for about an hour. For me, and this is true for every earbud of this style, I really don't want to wear them for more than an hour because this just kind of starts to aggravate my earlobe. So if you have experience with that, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, that may be a personal thing. So I want to contrast this style with some other styles, and so this is a necklace style, and this is my favorite necklace style. This is the LG Tone Infinitum. And so some advantages of a necklace style is that you've got a lot of real estate, so you can put buttons on it. Generally these have the best, easiest to use buttons, and in my opinion the Infinitum has the best buttons of any headset I've ever used. And of course it's got all the real estate to do that. You also get a longer battery. Again, you've got more real estate. There's places they can put a bigger battery in this. The disadvantage is the looks. I mean, you're wearing a necklace, so this isn't very discreet, and people will tend to look twice, like what the heck is that? So if that bothers you, that's something to think about. And then I don't like this style for running or exercise because this will bounce when you run or jog, and then if you're lifting weights, Like if I'm trying to squat, the bar is going to crush it. Or even if you're doing some kind of shoulder press and you bring it down low, the bar can crush it, and you're worried about breaking it. So I don't like these for this style, the necklace style, for working out. I do like it for just wearing all day. You pull them out, you put them in your ears. So that's kind of some of the pros and cons of a necklace style. And then the third style is, and I'm just going to call it the hearing aid style, because you wear them over your ears like a hearing aid. And so some of the pros cons of this style is they're very comfortable because it fits over your ear. It supports the earbud. You also have more real estate. They're larger, so they last longer. They can put a bigger battery in there, and then you've got more places to put buttons. So the buttons on these are typically better, easier to use than the buttons on these sort of earbud style of Bluetooth headsets, but they're also generally not as good as the buttons on a necklace style. A huge disadvantage of these, again, if you're worried about looks, they look like hearing aids, which, as far as I know, have never been cool. So that's probably the main reason why these aren't real popular, or aren't as popular as they could be. These are my favorite style for working out. They stay on your ears really well. They're comfortable. The buttons are pretty easy to use. The battery life looks pretty long, and yeah, I don't really worry about. I work out in my garage, so no one sees me anyway. So that's just a brief overview of the different styles of the Bluetooth headsets, and some of the just general advantages and disadvantages that you're going to see in each style. So let's talk about the Aelec here. And in general, this isn't my favorite style, but I will say that this is probably the best earbud style Bluetooth headset that I've used. So I want to talk about, let's talk about some of the features here. And first I'm going to talk about some of the things that I didn't like. So the first thing I noticed is that when you plug it in to charge it, this thing is not the easiest thing to open, and I fit on the earlobe stabilizer, and it's right by this little, you probably can't see that, but it's right by the opening, and it's kind of tough to deal with. It's just a little aggravating. It's really not a big deal. The second thing is the charging light only has one color, and it's tucked away in here somewhere, and it's hard to see. It's actually right there. So I don't really know how you know when the thing's fully charged, because when you plug it in, it lights up and there's only one color. Typically if it needs to be charged, it's red, and then it turns blue when it's done. That's the way most of them work. This one doesn't work that way. So that's a little annoying. And the next thing that I didn't like was I had a really hard time getting it to pair. So you're supposed to hold down the middle button for a couple seconds, the light flashes, and then you tell your phone to find it. I had to try like 3 or 4 times before my phone would find it, and eventually it found it when I just kept holding the button down. So I don't know, what that is. I just recently told it to forget it and then tried to find it again. I was able to find it again really easily the second time, so I don't know if that's going to be just me and it was an isolated incident or what, but typically it's really easy for me to pair a Bluetooth headset, and this was a little bit of a pain in the butt. With that said, since then, every time you turn it on, it pairs really quickly. So that's fine. The range is fine. It doesn't cut in and out. Typically, some of the bad headsets, when you go walking or you swing the phone, they'll cut in and out. This doesn't have any of those problems. So those are the main things that I did not like. The biggest thing I do like about these is they sound really, really good. They sound as good as any Bluetooth headset I've ever used. This thing is $150 brand new, and it claims to have this Harman Kardon or something speakers and all that. I think these sound better. They do the top end really well. They do the bass really well. They sound really good. I'm really impressed with the way they sound. So I really like that. I guess another thing to think about, and this is true for all earbuds of this style with the cord that connects them, this is going to flop around if you're jogging or running. Okay, so you can put these, you can have the cord in the front of your neck, and that's going to flop. And depending on who you are and how easily you get aggravated by things like that, you'll either not notice it or it'll drive you insane. Alternatively, you can have it, behind your neck, but it's still gonna flop up and down. And because the cord is attached to the earbuds, when it flops, you're gonna hear it. And again, if you've got your music on and it's fairly loud, you probably won't notice it. But again, it's going to be a personal thing. Some people, this is going to drive you absolutely insane, and some of you are never even going to notice it. So, but that's true for all of these. They have to attach them with a cord, and because they just fit in your ears, there's no way for them to support that cord and keep it off your neck. And what I mean is, so this is a Plantronics, I think it's a 903 Plus or something. It's a couple of years old. So as you can see, because it has this hearing aid style where it fits around my ears, the cord here is a little bit stiff and it can support it. And as you can see, it doesn't touch my neck and it doesn't flop. So that's how Plantronics solved that issue, but you can't do that without the hearing aid style. So all of these earbud styles will sort of have this cord issue. And then, like I said, these are comfortable. I think another thing I like about them is they look pretty good. They seem well made. Kind of a cool feature, so when you're not using them, you might wear them around your neck, and they've got little magnets here, so they'll snap together and so they won't fall off. That's kind of cool. In general, like I said, it's hard to get good buttons. I've never used an earbud style like this where I was really thrilled with the buttons. With that said, these aren't that bad. They use the control module style, and at least the control module isn't huge like some of the other ones I've used. And so it's not huge and clunky, and it uses these little raised circles, which are actually pretty easy to find with your hand, and it's pretty easy to remember. The top one's volume up, the middle one is pause play, and then the bottom one's volume down or skip track if you hold it. So you find it. You find the three buttons, and then you just remember to press top, middle, or bottom. It's not as fast as or as good as something that you would find on sort of the hearing aid style or the necklace style, but for this type of style, I guess it's the best buttons that I've used. So I guess I'm trying to say they still suck, but they don't suck as bad as some of the others. And again, it's not Aelec's fault. It's just difficult to put buttons on this style where they just really work really well. So that's basically the review. Again, this isn't my favorite style. Really, the only advantage of this earbud style is the discreetness and the looks, and I guess I don't care that much about that. But if this is the style you want and the discreetness and the looks are important to you, this is as good or probably better than any other earbud style like this that I've used, and they sound really, really good. Last thing I want to remember, last thing I want to mention, so these work pretty much like earplugs, which is something to think about. So you've got this silicone ear tip, and it seals fairly well in your inner ear. So it's neither good or bad. As I've said before, if I'm in an airport or in an airplane, I really like that because it blocks out external noise. But if you're trying to hear somebody talk, or if you're out running and you want to be able to hear cars, you may not like that. You will have to take at least one of these out of your ears if you want to have a conversation, because they block out sound pretty well. So just something to be aware of, something to think about. Not all of them are like that, but these particular ones are. And so depending on how you're using them, that's going to be good or bad. Okay, so I know this is a bit long, but I hope what I told you was useful. I would think about the different styles of Bluetooth earbuds and choose the style that you like. If you want the earbud style, I recommend these. I really do. I haven't used one, and they're $40 on Amazon. They're my favorite earbud style. If you want the necklace style, I recommend the Infinum, the LG Tone Infinum. Costs about twice as much right now on Amazon at about $80. But as much as I use these, I don't care. If you like the hearing aid style, these are like $28 on Amazon. It's the MPOW Cheetah, and they're one of my favorite low-cost options. I typically use these when I work out. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Got any questions or comments, just type them below, and I'll respond.